Hey everybody, welcome to History and Awesome. My name is Eric, and today we're doing another quickfire Q&A video, this time with Dr. Gregory Downs, Professor of History at UC Davis. Professor Downs, are you ready for this quickfire Q&A?
All right, I'm on the hot seat.
So yeah, 10 questions. They're both history and non-history questions. Try to give us a first answer you kind of comes to your head, and then give us a quick description of why you came up with that. So Dan, you got the questions. Take it away, my man.
All right. What is one thing or artifact from history that you would like to take to the present, and why?
That's an issue. So an actual physical thing. I'm not a material culture person. I'm going to fail at the quick nature of this. I actually don't have a thing. I'm not.
You can take a picture. You can take a picture or photo of someone. Like a selfie with somebody, I guess.
Well, I think if we could go back and get a photograph of Robert Small, sailing the planter out to the U.S. blockade, and outside of Charleston would be a big one.
Okay, nice.
Okay. Cool. What is your biggest pet peeve as a historian?
Well, I've got a lot. It's not what's a pet peeve, but what's the biggest one?
The biggest one.
Things that say they're the untold or new history of something that's long-standing and has been told many times before.
Thank you.
Marketing analysis.
Who would direct the film, or what would the style of the film be if you were to have After Appomattox made into some kind of visual medium?
I think it can, so I think it has merit. But I don't know what your thoughts are on that are.
That's hard because it's widespread. It doesn't have clear character focus, so it would have to be somebody operating on a really broad trajectory. But I would like a version of it by the creator of Nomadland. Just for its ability to kind of get into the crevices and the sort of outer areas, which is it's a different set of questions, but it's at the heart of After Appomattox. How do you reach people out in the countryside? And Nomadland is a very different 21st century vision of that.
Okay, nice. I mean, if you didn't have one, I have my own my own kind of like this is what you can do. I got plans for you. So if you didn't have anything, I got
plans. You go for it.
He was looking for jobs in case the history things
my blessing.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking Catherine Bigelow. I like her. I like what she did.
Absolutely, there's a very good guess. That makes more logical sense than Nomadland. Okay.
And I'm thinking focusing maybe on one town.
Yeah,
somewhere in the South.
The way to do it.
And maybe have a military officer or someone from the Freedmen's Bureau be one of the protagonists, and maybe someone who's formerly enslaved, maybe someone who's a teacher, or someone who maybe knows the area very well, and they're having these conversations, and you also get maybe contexts into what's going on in the federal government and the higher ups, and you have you can kind of picture the entire kind of story you're trying to tell maybe in this one town. It's kind of a little micro story, but that's just me. You probably have a better idea how it would go. But if someone ever comes to you and you need somebody,
well, I've had a couple of very vague conversations, but they've always turned on that it has to have a focus. And that focus should be, the issue would be, so that's clearly true.
I disagree.
How to make sure that focus is not, it shouldn't really be solely a Freedmen's Bureau, right? It has to be some way showing the conflict around.
I agree with that point. That's why I say, like Game of Thrones style ensemble cast, where it just covers everything. HBO.
There you go. That's right. The Wire. That's what it should be.
Exactly.
Like The Wire. Where's the power, right? It should be David Simon. How is everybody, at one hand operating in loggerheads, and at the other hand operating logically relative to the way they understand where their power is. Yeah, that would be the way to do it. All right, we'll get Catherine Bigelow and David Simon.
we'll get it going. We'll get it going. I'll talk to my people.
There you go. Sounds good.
Question 4. What gets you in the mood to write?
Now, hold on. Before you answer this, we've had a couple interesting answers. I hope that you give us hope as future historians, but if you don't, I'm going to have to walk out because I can't deal with it.
Self-loathing.
Okay. That's different. Okay, that's cool.
It is different. It is not deadlines. It's okay.
Everyone we talked to was deadlines and stuff like that.
Question 5. If you could learn about any one historical subject, what would it be?
That I don't already. I mean, like, not like Reconstruction.
Yes, assuming a new
proof is in the pudding.
Assuming a new one, yes.
Assuming a new one. It would be really interesting to be able to really figure out the Taiping Rebellion as another 19th century transformation. It does have a distinguished literature in English, but obviously a much longer literature in Chinese, which I can't read.
Right, makes sense. Question 6. What event or person in American history is overrated?
The American Revolution.
Do you have a question, Kelly?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. Number 1, how dare you?
Agreed.
That's interesting. Why do you think that? Why is that the
I
case?
tell my class in 17A, the United States had one civil war and one revolution, and it's not my fault we got the names mixed up.
That is almost exactly what I told you it would be, Eric.
The Civil War the revolution is a civil war among Anglo settlers over who's in control, and the Civil War, so-called, is a revolution about the very nature of power.
I mean, I've heard revolution, civil war, but
Sure.
to call one of it's, I don't know.
I know a lot of the revolutionary people go like that.
Almost exactly what I said.
That's it.
Question 7. What is the one thing you can't live without?
Coffee.
Makes sense. That makes total sense. Not much of a coffee person, but I can understand why other people be coffee.
I didn't used to be.
Yep. Next one, Dan.
Any interesting or random fact you learned recently?
Oh, there's a lot. Let me see and make sure there's one. Well, I just recently had been reading before I jumped on with you all about the way, I'm not a tennis guy, but the way Andre Agassi learned to read Boris Becker's serve and how he was tipping off by sticking his tongue out, which I thought was a very bizarre but fascinating for observation as a power of like a specific talent. That people have. I had been doing some exploration of 80s, 90s pop country. And there's a lot about that I think is really interesting. The number of popular songs that had explicitly religious, by which I don't mean just like general, mentions of God, but of hell. And of sin, and of like, in other words, a sort of specifically bleakly religious, as opposed to sort of chipper religious, and how popular that was, or how depressing pop country music was. There's a great music critic named Stephen Hayden who's written about 70s, 80s pop as being divorce pop. That is, the boomers, who are the largest demographic, right, aged where that pop music became less focused about kids because there weren't that many of them, and more focused, so like REO Speedwagon. These are things you don't know or need to know, but this whole range of kind of sad divorce pop. Mm-hmm. And then right about the mid-'80s, you could see a sort of reassertion of pop being for kids. And so I was sort of interested in the idea of how a lot of both the overproduction and the deep sadness went into pop country. The overproduction stayed in pop country. The deep sadness became like indie rock, right? Like, but there's weird ways in which pop country for a little while sounds nothing like what becomes indie rock, but has a lot of really, really depressing kind of middle-aged dad type stuff that becomes really important in alt country.
Now, my own little anecdote there is a weird niche band that fills that gap perfectly called Blue October. Reach me, it is I that want to save me today.
Blue October, okay, I don't know them. Where are they from?
They're from Texas.
Okay.
So the country makes sense, and they're from, I think, Austin. So the pop makes sense.
Right at it.
And
I mean, honestly, if you listen to early Jeff Tweedy, sounds like, somebody, for all of he was fascinated with heavy metal and stuff, but somebody who's listened to a lot of country music. And a lot of and obviously some of the people who actually continue to resonate into middle age and indie rock actually are very interested in the kind of depressing aspects of dealing with religion. David Bazan, Craig Finn, different places, Jason Isbell, maybe more metaphorically. I don't know if you know the band Hallelujah the Hills.
I know of them.
Yeah, so there's this interesting way in which a friend of mine says what happened to country music was CCM, Contemporary Christian, kind of took all the religious aspects out of it, kept all the horrible overproduction, and left a country music with with nothing but red cups and pickup trucks or whatever.
That's brilliant. That's why I chose this question. I knew it would be an interesting response. Yeah.
If you were stranded on a desert island, what 3 things would you want to be stuck with?
Well, I have to say my wife and 2 children. So
fantastic answer. Are they watching?
They are certainly not.
I was like, I'm not sure if they want to be stuck on a desert island.
Certainly not. They might not want to. They might get an opt-out, especially the kids.
Oh, it's funny.
All right, and final question: if you were not a historian, what would you be?
I think we know this one.
I think we do.
It's a good question. You're probably assuming fiction writer since I did that, but I actually don't. It's really hard to be a fiction writer, especially to survive into adulthood as it. I love journalism, but I was aware that journalism was on a tough trajectory, even relative to academia. And, I love journalism. I mean, if I were to do something else, if I could, it would be long-form magazine journalism. Is one thing I think that I find continually interesting, but very hard to do and also very hard to get into. That's really, some of those people. You also see those people really burn out. So, it's hard to keep doing it. So I don't know. You thought you knew my answer?
We thought fiction writer. You got
it.
No.
Yeah. Hi everyone, Eric here. If you enjoyed this quick fire Q&A with Professor Downs, then be sure to check out the podcast we do with them. The link to the video can be found in the eye above or in the description below. Thank you.